Hi, YouTube fans. I had another dream. I had this dream back in 2008, about like January. And this dream was quite horrifying. It was about, let's see, I'd say about 10 or 11 o'clock I went to bed. I went to sleep, and this dream woke me up at like 3:30. I always wake up around that time anyway, about 3:30 a.m., maybe 2:30. This dream horrified me. And, it's about the Christians, about us. And the Lord had come to me. He had shown me this dream. Sometimes I closed my eyes because I could see a lot of it really clear. In this dream, it was about, it looked like it was like in our days, in this time, but just a couple of, maybe 5 years from now, because people were so evil. People were so evil. It's like, evidently they come out with the chip. This is the days of the tribulation itself. And a lot of the Christians are gone into hiding. Well, this one lady, I say one lady, and it seems like in the dream that I become her, and then another minute I'm like beside her, where I'm able to see what is going on. I don't have any little children, but she had a daughter, a few grown kids and their little children, and maybe even some of hers, maybe a teenage daughter and some other smaller children. Well, she had an older son, and they were in hiding. And while they were in hiding, they knew that the Christians were being murdered. And during this time, I'm talking about, it was just such a dark time. It barely even had days. Where you could see daylight. And it's evil. I know it was the Antichrist, because it seems like the whole world band together. They are together. It's no longer, like Pennsylvania or Washington, D.C. or Texas, New York, California. Everybody is just blended together. Well, this young man, seemed to have, he hadn't taken the mark, but he has duplicated something like it, to be out there and go and get food and to cheat them out of the things that they, to be able to get things, he has some type of association, but he didn't accept the mark. So he hooked up with one of his friends that said that, oh yeah, if you know where some Christians are, we would help them, And he was so naive. He thought, times were so bad. I'm talking about, it was raining. It was just horrible, living in nowhere, just trying to find somewhere to live and, dig in certain places. And some things I'm just not going to say, because the Lord just showed me a while ago, there's some things that are to be kept to me, be kept to myself. Only the Lord knows. And he doesn't want me to say some of the hidden things that I know. Well, anyway, he told his family. He was so devastated. He wanted to help. He wanted to help himself and those that were Christians. Well, he left to go after he told them to meet up with this certain individual to help them get, food and be able to bathe and do all this, all your needable type things that you do every day. He left, I think, to search for, survival things. While they split up, the mother and the children and all those that was in the Christian camp, a few of them, it was a large group of them, it's like, looked like about 30, 25, 30 people, maybe even 50. All followed her because that's where her son told them to go. And they all lined up and they ran, sneaking around and, from building to trees to houses, trying to get to this person. They finally get to this person, and this person says, okay, when they meet up with this person takes them to this place. When they get out, they see all these people that do not believe in God. They see these people who don't believe in God, and they're frightened like, I thought they were supposed to help us. Well, the one mother that I seem to have stood beside, now I'm her. In the dream, I'm playing her. And it was like, okay, don't you break. Don't you even flinch. This is what it's got to be. We cannot break ranks. We have to survive this. By dying for Christ, we will live. And her children, which were in a dream that was supposed to be mine, they were all crying, and the daughter was crying. And I'm not talking about this boo. It was really crying like somebody died. And I, in the dream, was like, no remorse. I didn't cry. I didn't do anything. I just like, whatever is whatever. You cannot take the mark. No amount of crying, no nothing is going to change anything. You cannot take the mark. Point blank. You can cry, you can hide, you can do whatever, but do not take the mark. They brought us to this large crowd with a big old hole in the earth. They had this big old giant hole. This hole was real big. I'm talking about it's big as a whole area downtown of any city or state. And they had a big hole. When we come to it, they lined us up. And we were like in a line of 5. You had a 5 row, like a row of standing in front of a firing squad. And then the next row, and then the next row. When it comes to me, and all the people that I had in my row were mostly the children, I looked at them. And then, again, my spirit was out of that body and looked down at this woman, and she turned around and she looked at her children just like that. She said, remember, you cannot take the mark. And bravely, she was brave. She didn't even cry. She just, knew that this was happening. It had to happen. And she looked over and looked at the whole crowd, and this is like it's like the whole world. As far as you can look, you can only see people, far back as you can look. People are screaming, murder them, kill them, those evil people, kill them, they're crazy, kill them, they shouldn't be here. And she just stood there, which, again, it was me playing a part in the dream. And he asked me if I would take the mark. I said no. And he pulled the guillotine, and there was blood all over the guillotine where there was other murdered Christians. Their heads was in the bucket, and their body was in the big old giant black hole with smoke coming up out of it. At this point, it had been piled up to the point, this hole goes down so deep. The bodies were piled up with no heads. Blood everywhere, and people, you had television and television people and everything on it. I'm going to have to stop here, and then I have to continue on part 2.